Hello and welcome to Mountain Patriot Homestead. I've got my apron on, we're in the kitchen, so let's get cooking. It is impossible for me to go through a holiday meal preparation without thinking of my mama and the hours, sometimes days, that she would spend in the kitchen preparing for a holiday meal. And one thing that was always pretty much a staple in our home, and I say pretty much, it always was a staple in our home, wasn't necessarily just a dish, but it was the dish that my mama used to prepare so many good things in. Now, this bowl has seen rising yeast bread. It has been filled many times with her potato salad that would be requested for social gatherings and, church gatherings, and anytime that a crowd was gathered together, they would ask Mama to make her potato salad. It would be filled at Christmas time with nuts and candy and fruit, but at Thanksgiving, this was the bowl that she used to mix up her cornbread dressing. Today, I'm going to be using this bowl to mix up cornbread dressing, but I'm going to do a little twist. Now, normally you don't tweak recipes for the holidays. You go with the traditional because that's what family and friends are expecting when you put the food on the table. But this year, with it just being my husband and I at home and him not eating dressing, the dressing's going to be all mine, which means dividing it up and freezing part of it afterwards. Today, instead of just using regular cornbread, I thought I would make crackling cornbread to go into the dressing because, pork, I love pork. And so the cracklings in there are going to add a little bit of that smoky flavor, just like bacon would do. And if you don't know how to make crackling cornbread, if you will look down below, I will put a link to another video that I made on how to make crackling cornbread. But I'm going to make the crackling cornbread and put it in there. But at the end, rather than just sticking it in the oven, I'm going to also do something a little different. Okay, well, a lot different. I'm going to stick it out on the smoker and I'm going to smoke it. It's going to have the smokiness from the cracklings and it's going to have the smoke from the pit. So let's get cooking and see what we come up with. Now this is dressing and not stuffing, and if you're wondering what the difference is, dressing is cooked in a separate pan from your meats, which a stuffing is normally stuffed into the turkey or whatever bird you're preparing. Into this pan, I am putting a couple of cups of chopped onion, probably a cup and a half of celery, and I'm also putting some roasted red peppers that I had left from another dish that I made. And I'm just putting this into the pan together. Just going to saute it down until the vegetables are soft and ready to go into the dressing. Now, as I say in all videos, and you probably get tired of me saying it, use what you have, use what you like. If you don't like celery, then don't put celery in there. I just happen to have these red peppers that were just sitting in the refrigerator, so I went on ahead and chopped them up and put them in here as well. If you have bell peppers, if you prefer hot peppers, Just use what you like to put into this, and we'll be getting the other ingredients ready. To the bowl here, I have put in 6 slices of toasted bread. Just, you can use white bread. That's what Mom always used. I stopped by a local bakery yesterday and picked up, I can buy packages of the heels of various types of bread that they've made throughout the day. And that's what's in this bowl. And to this, I am going to add my crackling cornbread that I made earlier. And I'm just going to break this up into pieces. Do you see those pieces of cracklings in there? I'm just going to break this up. Now, I don't want it just nothing but pure crumbs, but it will break up, and especially as I put in the broth, they will break up into finer pieces. That's why I don't want to start out with it just being tiny little crumbs. So I'm just going to add all of the cornbread into this bowl. I have got the bread in this bowl, and the next thing I'm going to put in here are those vegetables that we sauteed up. That's celery, onion, and peppers. Isn't that pretty? Looks like the holidays. All right. Our next thing to go in there is going to be some shredded chicken. Now, this came from a whole chicken. It was a small chicken we raised here on the farm that I had in the freezer, and I boiled it up and just took all the meat off the bones. And that smells so good right now. And I haven't even started putting seasoning in this dressing, but it is smelling good. Now, you see why I use this gigantic bowl, because it would not all fit if I tried to use one of my normal mixing bowls. So Mama's giant bowl here comes in so handy to do this. Just going to give this a little mix just to get it started in there. Again, if it was not for this big bowl, I would have this all over the kitchen. So just slow, just slow. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to mix it too much yet, because I've still got broth to go, and I've still got seasoning to go. So there it is, starting to get stirred. And the broth that's going in here is from that chicken. And it was cooked with celery and onion as well. So this broth has that flavor of the vegetables already in it. If you are using a canned broth or store-bought broth, that's perfectly fine. You can use that. And if you want to season it up with your own vegetables, you can do that as well. I'm going to give this a little stir. Now, one of the frustrating parts sometimes that people have following my recipes is that a lot of times stuff that I cook like it was handed down to me, and that means it may not have a set recipe. It's just you've got to eyeball things and just look until it looks right or it tastes right. So forgive me if I'm not giving you exact amounts on some of this, because you just keep putting things in there until it looks right and tastes right. And that is honest truth, because Mama always had me as her taste tester for the dressing. I'm just sprinkling a little salt in there. Now, remember, the bread already has salt in it, so don't go overboard with it until you've tasted it. And I'm just going to sprinkle some garlic powder. If you've got fresh garlic, if you've got that minced garlic, by all means, help yourself. And if you don't like garlic, don't use it. Black pepper. Whew, don't want that much black pepper. I just got a handful of black pepper, and I like black pepper, but I don't want that much in it. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that right in there. And if you like a little bit of spice, you could always add spice to it. Put some red pepper in there if you want. Red pepper flakes. I love red pepper flakes. So now this last thing to me has got to be in dressing for it to taste right to me. Now, I don't know. Some people don't like sage. Me, I can't ever have too much sage. This may not look like your rubbed sage from the grocery store because it is not. It is sage that I grew here and just kind of rubbed it off the plant. So I'm just going to stir that up a little bit. I know I'm going to be adding more sage because that is not enough sage for me. Now, Mama's recipe always had boiled eggs in it, and normally mine does as well. But since this is going to go out on the pit, I didn't want to put boiled eggs in it because I don't want them to get rubbery. I love boiled eggs, but I don't love rubbery boiled eggs. So just get those seasonings stirred up in there good. Just like that. Okay, take a look at it. That's looking pretty good. I've added a little bit more sage in there. Like I told you, I probably overdo it with the sage when I'm cooking it for other folks because I really love sage. That's why I love to grow it because if I grow it myself, then I don't feel bad about using a bottle at a time. So there we go. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Let me take a taste here to see how it's going. I did go a little too light on the salt, so I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add some more salt. Now, I have no idea how much salt I'm putting in here. I'm just sprinkling and testing, And that's what I would suggest that you do because people have such a wide span of how much, and I'm going to add some more garlic too, have such a wide span of what type of salt tolerance they have. Me and my husband are very different in that aspect as he likes things salty. Me, I don't like things, I want salt in it. I don't want it to be considered salty. If it's salty, I don't care much for it. So, okay. I am going to add a little bit more broth in there because when that goes out on the pit, I don't want it soupy, but I don't want it dry. And when it gets done, I want the top crispy and brown, but I want that center to be soft. If that makes any sense? I'll have to show you when we get done what I'm meaning. Hopefully it turns out good. Now see why I didn't crumble that cornbread up a lot, because if you do, when you get done, it's going to be just mush, because with all the stirring, it does come apart on its own, and I didn't want it to be mush before we got to that point. So let me taste again. Okay, that's much better. Much more better. All right. So I am normally I would cook this in a skillet. I am going to cook it in a aluminum pan this time out on the grill. So I'm going to spray a pan and get this in it and get it ready to go out. Now you got to have your muscles ready for this because this is not light once you get this bowl through. I have got the pan greased and I'm just trying to get this dressing in without flopping it all over the counter. And that is looking so good. Hopefully Mama wouldn't be too disappointed in me for changing it up, but she liked changing up recipes too, so I'm not real worried. I think she would approve. And she loved crackling cornbread too, so I think she would definitely be interested in trying this recipe. Okay. I've got all of that in there, and I'm going to get it spread out. So when this is done, we'll come back in and we're going to taste test it. All right, this has been out on the smoker at 350 for about 45 minutes. It is cold outside and only going to get colder. I'm about to bring this inside for us to fix plates, but I wanted to take a taste before I go inside and just let y'all know how it is. But look at that. Look at how beautiful and golden. And I am looking forward to seeing how it tastes. So I brought a fork and I'm going to just take a bite while I'm out here. I stick my bite right there out of the corner. Oh yeah, that still looks nice and moist inside. So let me flip this around and get me a bite. All right, I know I look a little rough. We have been working outside today, but I have my bite of dressing right here, and I'm fixing to try it out. Mm. Okay. That turned out better than I was even anticipating. Because with the cornbread in there, that crackling cornbread in there, it has that flavor going on in it, but that smoke, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's mesquite pellets that we had in the smoker. And wow, I love y'all, but I'm fixing to get this in the house and get me a plate made because I'm hungry. And we're not having it with turkey. We actually made brisket. So I'm going to have dressing with brisket. I know that sounds strange, but you know, who would have known that crackling cornbread and putting your cornbread dressing on a smoker would be a game changer. I'm not sure I'll be cooking mine in the oven anymore. I'll probably be using the smoker. So I'm going to go eat. I hope you've had a wonderful day. I love y'all. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.